Good morning. It is about like 6:20 a.m. I've been up since about 5:45, getting ready, and now I'm ready and I'm just waiting for my guide to come and get me from my room, and then we're gonna go have breakfast and then do our morning game drive. I am so excited. The sun's already come up. Well, sun hasn't come up, but a little bit. Sun is coming up, and yeah, it's gonna be great. I'm feeling pumped today. Just taking in the views before breakfast. Like, could you just imagine waking up to this every day? You're just instantly so calm and relaxed, and seeing the sun come up on the horizon as you just listen to the morning chirps of the birds as they start their day. Just bliss. A couple impala came by to the watering hole while we were having breakfast, and then it was time to start our drive. First thing we spotted were hyena tracks. Look how big those things are. I literally always thought hyenas were pretty small, but clearly I was wrong. These tracks were from the brown hyena, which is common in this area, and then there's also another type of hyena in Africa, which is the spotted hyena, and those are the ones that actually sound like they're laughing. It's creepy. The tracks were heading in the opposite direction, so sadly I didn't actually get to see one up close. Again, just constant, amazing landscapes. In the dry season, the camp maintains this watering hole for the animals, which is always a good first stop on morning drives to find fresh tracks. However, since, as I mentioned in part 1, there has been an unprecedented amount of rain in Botswana, there are a lot more natural watering holes, like this huge one right next to it. This makes it a bit harder to track the animals because they have more options and places to go. So this morning we definitely weren't as lucky as the day before with being able to just spot the lions so early in the drive, but regardless, even just driving around, taking in the landscape and just the nature surrounding us was just as nice. We were able to catch one of the Kori bustards, the national bird of Botswana, and the largest flying bird actually flying, and it's easier to see how big they actually are. Then we pulled up on some gnu or wildebeest. At first we just spotted this one male under the tree, basically again on guard protecting his territory, but then as we continued to drive we seen that there were so many more of them. Both the male and female gnus have horns, but you can usually tell them apart because the females have larger bellies. And another lone male just patrolling its territory. And then that's when we spotted it. Fresh rhino poop. We knew that there was both at least one male and one female that came through here. The female droppings are still intact, but for males, they actually trample and scatter their droppings with their hind legs as a way to mark their territory. So as I mentioned, these were fresh, so we knew there were rhinos somewhere close by, and the hunt was on. Rhino tracking. And then there they were, just grazing in an open field, surrounded by like literally 100 gnu. This was my first time seeing such a large group of them, and even some babies. It was like a little mini migration. So we hung out with the gnus for a little bit, and it seemed like the longer we sat there, the more gnus showed up. I loved when they started to run. It just caused like a domino effect. When one starts running, they basically all start running, and normally they have no idea why they're running. And then we turned our attention back to the rhinos, and we approached them very slowly. Rhinos are extremely fidgety and they get scared really, really easily. These are white rhinos, and here were 3 of them, a male, a female, and a not so tiny baby. Because the rhinos in this area are protected, each one is actually tagged so they can be identified. The male's name was Charlie, and he's about 14 years old. The female is Doris, and the baby is named Little Kalahari. He's about 2 or 3 years old and really not so little anymore. Rhinos can live up to 40 years, so even the male here is technically still quite young, but he won't grow much bigger than he is now. As you can see, both the male and female's horns have been cut off, which is done to protect them from poachers, as rhinos are often killed just for their horns. Rhinos' horns are useful to them for many things in their day-to-day lives, so they've had to adapt to living without them. These rhinos are solely grazers, which is why their mouths are pointed so close to the ground, so they have easy access for their food, which is grass. They have poor eyesight but have very good hearing and sense of smell. Also, sometimes you'll see that they look a lot lighter in certain places, and that's because they've been mud wallowing, which is basically their way to put on sunscreen and protect themselves from the sun. And it's also an easy way for them to suffocate the ticks on their bodies. Then in the background, the canoes started running again, which caused the rhinos to get a bit flustered and on alert. So when a female rhino has a baby, she will basically stay with that baby until it's about 3 years old, and during that time she will not mate because she can only take care of one baby at a time. So it's almost about that time when she will push little Kalahari away, which is why the male rhino is staying close by. He wants to be able to mate with her as soon as that happens. Until that time, the mother is very protective of the child, and they are always together. Once a male child gets to a certain age, like the lions, he is a threat to the father, unless he becomes submissive to him, because 2 dominant males cannot live in the same territory. The older male is also aggressive towards the child because he knows that as long as the child is around, he cannot mate with the female. So as you can see, the mom and baby are staying close together, and the male is staying nearby, but he's keeping some distance between them. At one point, even as they were walking off to go find shade, the male got a little bit too close and the female stopped and essentially told him he needs to back off. And even though rhinos walk extremely slowly, they can run up to 40 kilometers per hour. Fun fact, if a rhino was ever chasing you, you want to either find a tree to climb or even just find like a fallen tree stump to hide behind, because their stubby little legs are too short for them to step or jump over it. Then we headed towards another watering hole and came across another large herd of gnus, some zebras, and a lone impala. They all began swiftly running away as we approached. This was my first time coming across the zebras since being here, which was nice. Zebras are actually the national animal of Botswana. This came to be because the first president went all the way to England and was trying to marry a white woman, but the problem was that she was not a part of the royal family. So when they came back to Botswana, the uncles were not very happy and there was some conflict, but eventually he ended up marrying her anyway. They then chose the zebra as a way of representing white and black living together in peace and harmony. A common misconception about zebras is their color, so I'll ask you, are zebras white with black stripes or black with white stripes? What do you think? And then we seen some little pumbas approach the now clear watering hole, and given the fact that everything I know about warthogs has been from the Lion King, they were smaller than I expected them to be. What's cool though about the babies is that even though they don't actually have tusks yet, the skin around the sides of their faces is white, so that predators are tricked into thinking they have big tusks. Then we came across even more gnu. These things were like really out in full force in this area. After leaving what I've now named the gnu field, we pulled up on this leopard tortoise on the side of the road. It gets its name because of the pattern on its shell. Apparently, people actually eat tortoise legs and necks, which I was not aware was even a thing. They say it tastes like chicken, but I don't think I'll be trying that one out. Then we were back on hunt for the giraffes. But first, we came across a male and female ostrich. These things were in fact as big as I expected them to be. Ostriches are actually polygamous, and a male ostrich will mate with between 1 to 3 females at a time. And they will even all just share one big nest. They lay huge eggs. One ostrich egg is about the size of 24 chicken eggs. Also, the females normally stay at the nest during the day because they are lighter in color so they can handle the sun better, and then switch places with the male at night. They are obviously way too big to fly, but ostriches can run up to 65 kilometers per hour. Then we stopped at the lookout, which is basically a high platform deck literally in the middle of nowhere, but it has the most breathtaking views of the surrounding area. I could only imagine what it would look like from up here during the sunset. Then we caught sight of a bunch of oryx, finally a live one, because all I seen was the dead one the day before. They really are stunningly beautiful. They seem almost like majestic with their distinctive stripes on their faces and lower body. We had lunch at the Hide, which is basically an enclosure with a little window with a clear view of a watering hole where you can get close views of animals when they come to drink. Unfortunately, none actually visited while we were there aside from some birds. And then we were curious what the brothers were up to, so we went back to check on the lions and the oryx carcass I showed you guys back in part 1. So something got to the tail by now, probably a jackal, but then the carcass wasn't where we seen it last. We found bones strewn about. And then we found the remainder of the carcass much deeper into the bushes. There was like nothing left. At this point, they would probably come back for maybe one more final meal, and then we'll need to go on the hunt for a new kill. So we found the younger brother under some shade not far from the carcass before he got up and walked away from us. We tried to circle around and find him, but instead we just found the older brother much deeper in the bushes hiding, also just relaxing under the shade. We came across another black-backed jackal in the middle of the road, looking like he was heading towards the lions and the oryx carcass. He's likely attracted to the smell of the carcass, but not sure that the lions will actually let him get any. So I've been on this game drive all morning, and we've literally seen everything possible, like white rhinos, ostriches, different types of antelopes, a wildebeest, a warthog, even ostriches, but no giraffes. And we've been looking, like I feel like we circled the desert like twice hunting these giraffes, and you would think giraffes would be so easy to find, like, you know, they're so big, so tall, you would just see them and know, no, these things are hiding out. So I'm sad, no giraffes. Before heading back to camp, we stopped at the bunker, which is another good hidden spot underground where you can get really good shots of animals visiting the watering hole in front of it. There's this really tight pathway leading up to it that I did not like at all because there were so many bugs, and then walking into it, I literally hit my head on the top of the door because I was not paying attention. Pretty sure if I hadn't been wearing a hat, I would have got a huge cut on my forehead, but I just played it off. But then once you get in, it's just this small room with a couple of benches, and it was extremely claustrophobic and boiling hot inside. There were only a couple canoes out there, so we didn't stay long at all. I was over it pretty quickly. Just got back to camp, have a little bit of time before high tea and then my afternoon activity. So I'm gonna go grab a drink and sit by the pool because it's hot. It is about 5:30. I am on my way back to my room to go change. And I'm going to go on a bushman walk. I really have no idea what to expect, other than I'm going to be walking with some of the local bushmen. So yeah, hopefully nothing wild goes down, but I am exciting, but I'm excited. It should definitely be fun. Let's see. On the way, we passed by the bunker again, and it was literally like a completely different place. The watering hole was overfilled with kadoos and zebras and impalas like I've never seen before. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to stay that long, but it was really amazing. Then it was time to start the bushman walk. We would basically be walking through the bushes, so my guide was actually carrying this big ass rifle just in case we came across anything dangerous. We also had to walk in single file, so I was basically smack dab in the middle just in case anything approached from either the front or the back. I learned a lot about the different plants and their uses, like for medicine, which ones you can and can't eat, etc. So here he's digging for an ostrich egg that he's hidden. They basically take the ostrich egg and put a small hole at the top, drain the yolk, and then use it to store water. They cover the hole with leaves so the water doesn't pour out, and then they bury it. And because it's underground, the water gets really nice and cool. And they'll essentially bury these all over, and they just have to remember where they buried them later when they're thirsty. Then he dug up this water potato that you basically just eat like an apple. And it also has a really high water content, so it replaces just drinking water if you can't find any. I had a piece and it really didn't taste like anything that I could compare it to, but it wasn't bad. Then I learned how to make traps for small birds or animals. So first, you look for tracks to see what their usual path is, and then clear the surrounding area. Then they have this rope that is made from a plant called mother-in-law's tongue, where they just twist two pieces together to essentially make a rope. Then you tie one end of the rope to a close by branch, and if there isn't one, you just find a branch and bury it into the ground for you to use. And then you dig a small hole. Insert a thick stick into the sand right at the edge of the hole, but leave a small portion sticking out, kind of like a stump. And then you take a long stick and partially insert it deep into the opposite side of the hole, with the other end resting loosely beside the stump. So when something steps on it, the pressure will push that side into the ground. Then you take the other end of the string and tie a loop about halfway through the rope. Pull the loop around the stump and then fit the end of the long stick into the loop, and the string should hold. Then gently place a bunch of small sticks, grass, and dirt to essentially cover and hide the hole that you made. Then you take the remaining rope and make a loop which will sit right above the trap, and then you cover it with more dirt to hide it. Then you block the sides of the trap with long branches and also sticks so the animals are more inclined to take the clear path directly into your trap. And then boom! I actually jumped when this happened. I am such a nerd. Then I tried the tortoise weed, which is really just a sweet leaf. It literally tastes like candy. Apparently tortoises have a sweet tooth and they really enjoy eating them, so that's how it got its name. Then they showed me how they hunt larger animals like kadu, zebras, or even giraffes with a bow and arrow. They poison the side of the arrow just below the tip by using the residue from some poisonous webs. It is very deadly, so they have to be extremely careful. Basically, if you were to touch the poison with your finger, you would need to immediately cut off that finger before the poison gets into your bloodstream, because once it does, it's over. And then they track their target and use the bow and arrow to shoot it. Once they shoot the target, they leave the animal and then come back the following day to find it. This is because it will take some time for the poison to fully get through their bloodstream and for it to die. They will first come back to where they shot the animal and then trace its tracks and like blood to find out where it's died. Then they skin and cook the meat. Because it was poison, they just really overcook the meat to ensure all the poison has left it. They definitely would not want to eat this rare or medium rare. I then asked them what happened if they were to come back and find that a lion or something else had eaten their catch.
The lions here, they take my meat. Yeah. Tomorrow morning I will not go and hunting around. I will follow those lions. So when they kill the big giraffe there, yeah, that's why I'm coming.
Then you'll take
chase them away from that kid and then take the whole thing.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Then we came across some oryx droppings and they got really excited. I couldn't figure out why, but then they showed me that they play this traditional spitting game where they draw a line in the sand and then basically take turns spitting the individual droppings to see who can get it to land the farthest. This was probably the wildest part of the walk for me because, yeah, I think it speaks for itself. But they thoroughly enjoyed it. Then we pulled up to the village. Essentially, the Bushmen were travelers, so they didn't necessarily stay in the same place long term. So they would set up new villages as they went, which mainly consisted of a couple of huts and then an open fire pit area. This is the normal size hut, and it would fit about 5 people sleeping inside. So every night they cook over the fire and then dance by the fire all night. They have these instruments basically made out of the cocoon of the praying mantis that are hollowed out and filled with stones that they tie around their ankle before dancing to make music. And then we made a fire. They start with a pile of dried grass and then cover it with crumpled pieces of zebra droppings. I thought it was just dirt at first because it makes it easier to catch the fire. And then you lay a branch from a copperwood tree on top, and then a branch from a trumpet thorn is used to twist on top of it and create friction. And then eventually you will see smoke and you blow on it until the grass catches fire. Then the sun began to set and we headed out to have our sundowner drinks back at the bunker. Tonight was some avocado mousse thingy as the appetizer, which I definitely did not like at all. And then a traditional meal, which consisted of pounded beef and some kind of like sweet baked fruit that had corn mixed in it, which actually really wasn't bad at all. And then cabbage and pap, which is kind of like polenta, which I was definitely not a fan of. Okay, so it is just about 12 a.m. And it's my last night at Dinaka after my bushman walk, which was actually pretty amazing, by the way. So I had a really good time, and then came back and then had more drinks by the fire, and then at dinner, and then we're just kind of hanging out. And yeah, I guess time got away from us again, but it was actually really good. They're just telling me kind of all their stories and experiences working at different lodges and things like that. So it was good, but I'm so tired. And it was just like, because when we were there, we could hear the lions, and they kind of just were like progressively getting closer. So at one point they were roaring, and they were like, oh yeah, they're probably just like over there coming towards this way. And I was like, okay, that's it for me. Like, it's time for me to go back to my room, because I do not want to meet them when I'm trying to go back to my room. Luckily, as always, my guide was there to walk me back to the room, because I would not have been doing it by myself. Pitch black, yeah, wasn't happening. So anyways, I made it back to my room. Obviously it was fine. I haven't heard any roars yet, so they haven't come this far, but the kill that they had from a couple days ago is probably up by now, so they should be out on the hunt again. So I might hear them tonight. We'll see in the morning if that was the case, but I'm gonna wake up at about 6:30 and then have breakfast, and then I'm gonna go on another drive. Hopefully I'll be able to catch a giraffe before I go, but then I'm going to the Okavango Delta, to another camp there for 2.5 days-ish, which should be really just as exciting. Unfortunately, I will not be the only one there again, so we'll see what that experience is going to be like. But either way, like the Delta, I've just heard like amazing things. It's beautiful, it's wonderful, and even just like flying over it apparently is amazing. So I'll try to get some really good footage of that. But yeah, so I'm excited to continue my journey in the Delta, but the Kalahari has been amazing. Looking forward to the morning tomorrow, and then sadly saying goodbye. So yeah, see you guys tomorrow.